The Sustainable Voice, bringing you big successes from small places worldwide.
Welcome back to the Sustainable Voice. This is Ashish, your host. How's it going? I've got two really amazing people with me, and those eyes, my goodness. So these are some really amazing people. We've been planning this episode for a while. So with me is somebody, my hermana Inés is here. She's been on this show before. And Inez's sister, Gaby, the famous or about to be famous Gaby. So we're going to be talking about the Amazon jungle. There are some stuff that, as you guys have been listening, have probably read about growing up about the Amazon jungle making up 20% of the Earth's air. We're going to debunk a lot of this stuff. But before we get started, make sure you hit the subscribe button, hit that like button, make sure you give it a thumbs up. Wherever you're listening, make sure you subscribe. We want to make sure you're part of this audience that's growing rapidly. And if there's anything that you want to hear, I love the comments. Our social media guys are great, by the way, because we've had some comments come back and people who are less than impressed by some of the stuff I'm saying, and they're really funny in their replies. So if you have something to contribute that we want to be able to start a conversation, we would love that. But if you just want to be funny, don't worry, we're funny too. But hit that subscribe button, like I said, and we're going to jump in. So Inés, Gaby, thank you for joining us. Thank you for actually being part of this. I've known Inés for the longest time. She's my youngest sister, and Gaby, we're seeing you for the first time. But apparently, you're the brains of the operation, from what I understand. I mean, this is a loving sister telling me that you're the brains of the operation. So can you start off, maybe just share with everybody a little bit about you and what it was like, the two of you growing up?
Okay. Oh, well, thank you so much, Ashish, for having us. Well, Inés is my little sister, just to mention that.
I could never have told.
We were born in Lima, Peru, in South America. And difference, like Inés grew up in Lima, but I lived 3 years with the whole family in South Peru, in Arequipa. So it's an
Okay.
Andean city. And we live in the field, in the outfields. And my brother and I will run through the cow fields and play in alfalfa fields to hide and seek.
Okay, wait, so there's a brother in this as well. Does he have eyes like both of you?
Even dreamier, like he's a whole different level.
Holy.
So for us was like, growing up in a desert. Lima is a desert in the coast of Peru. Arequipa was an Andean city. And so I've never seen a rainforest before until I was in the uni. I went as a student and I fall in love with the rainforest and that green tapestry that it is.
And is that how you guys ended up in the Amazon? Is basically, how did you end up in the Amazon?
No, I'm a field biologist. I consider myself a tropical biologist. So I went to do my first research out of the uni in southeastern Peru in a tropical rainforest. So I lived there for 3 years and I trained with Conservation International doing rapid assessments. I specialize in mammals. Then I study monkeys, feeding ecology of monkeys in Venezuela, also in semi-deciduous forest. And then I ended up in the US. I work in a botanic garden there. I was part of the family for 18 years, first as a volunteer and then in different programs in programmatic areas and a visitor experience of the tropical botanic garden. So
Well,
coming
hang
back,
on. Well, hang on. Before you go, I just need to stop for a second.
yes.
To my family and my mom, I'm really sorry. I have to apologize that I wasted my education and accomplished nothing. Listening to you, wow. Yeah, I'm really sorry that I wasted my degree and I didn't accomplish anything. I should have actually hung around you more often,
Hey,
Gabby.
you're keeping up the legacy. Okay.
Yeah, I am, but I have a lot of envy right now. Gabby's that's already impressive. So,
Yeah.
Inez, how did you end up in the Amazon?
I ended up in the Amazon 15 years ago. I grew up with Gaby as my own personal idol. I mean, her story, she be dropped in a helicopter to study howler monkeys in the
Wait, stop.
rainforest of Venezuela year after year for a month length. Like,
Hold on. You got dropped out of a helicopter?
I didn't fail, but we were doing assessment in southeastern Peru in the Candamo area for Conservation International, and we were like actually looking what the mobile oil company was doing. They were exploring for oil in the most diverse place, one of the most diverse places on Earth. So we
Okay.
were like kind of the watchdog organization doing assessments previously, during, and after the oil assessment. So the only way to get there was really by helicopter, and we'll have helicopter drop zones, and it will land just for a couple of minutes. We jump out of the helicopter, and then they will be back in 15 days for us. So it was fun.
Tropic thunder. That's what that was. That's incredible.
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
right.
And so I grew up looking up to her work in conservation and just loving Earth. I went a different path, completely different. I went to business school. I majored in marketing. I worked in different marketing companies. I always had a travel bug. And so later I decided to make it work in travel. And I found my way into Delphine Amazon Cruises. And it's been my home for the last 15 years. It's an amazing, outstanding, family-owned, Peruvian-owned company in the Amazon rainforest. Aldo and Lisi, they are outstanding. So it's been more than a pleasure working for them all this time. In parallel, Gaby was always my personal advisor for everything sustainability, biodiversity. Before we had WhatsApp and before we had satellite Wi-Fi on board and I couldn't reach my guides, I'd be like, hey, Gaby, what monkey is this? Hey, Gaby, was always speed dial, right? And helping me with like the right connections for bringing, sustainability efforts into Delphine. So I always had that green hat inspired by her in the company. And then a year ago, Lisi, the owner, she was like, okay, Inés, she's met Gaby and she always raving about her work. And she was like, okay, Inés, give me Gaby's number. I want to talk to her. Like, why?
That's
I was
awesome.
always like, family and business shouldn't mix.
But
Right?
when you have a sister like
But
this as a mentor
it's
and
our
an
privilege.
idol, yeah.
It's our privilege to have her be on board and leading all of these efforts that are truly life-changing. And
So I haven't unpacked
yeah,
my bag from the last trip, so I guess I'm on my way.
let's
I
do it,
mean,
please.
I
It's been
mean,
too
yeah.
long. It's been
Yeah, I
too long
agree. I
waiting for you.
agree. Well,
Yeah.
and actually, to everybody who's listening right now, you wanna have a good laugh. If it's a day of the week and you need to laugh, do us a favor. DM our producers and ask them about otterpaw. Ask them what otterpaw means. Yeah, otterpaw. Ask them what it means. There's a story behind it. It involves somebody's toes, a pregnant otter, and well, Inez. So
Leave
yeah, if
that
you
for
want
the next episode.
to, so all right, we're gonna pivot a little bit here because we're gonna debunk this myth to start out. Okay, so we're gonna talk about BioRES, and this podcast is about big successes, small places, taking people like the two of you who are doing such good work in the Amazon, who are clearly deserving of so much more recognition. So this episode is about both of you and giving you both the recognition you deserve. Let's start with this theory. There is this thing that every child, including my own, keeps talking about the Amazon jungle are the lungs of the earth and they produce 20% of the earth's oxygen. What's the truth? What's really the truth? Let's talk about that. So Gaby, maybe you can start us off. What is the real answer?
Yes. So it is a basic knowledge that we learn in school, right? A photosynthesis, right? The basic
Mhm.
photosynthesis that the plants will absorb all this CO2 from the atmosphere, and then through the light, through water, they release all this oxygen out. No, that's
Mhm.
right. That's the process. And being the Amazon, the largest rainforest, like continuous rainforest in the world, you might think, okay, oh my God, this is huge, over 5 million square kilometers. They should release a lot tons of oxygen out. But in reality, also plants, they have this mechanism that they also during the day when there's sunlight, they absorb all this CO2 and puts out oxygen. But at night, they consume oxygen as well.
Mhm.
So and so there's a balance. So there's a
Equilibrium
balance
basics.
that it will absorb that, but also other animals absorb that, and it would not be the amount that we imagine. That 20% actually is very, very smaller amount, and it is not the reality that we have.
So it's not that it's not producing it. It's probably producing more, but it's
Yeah.
because of the consumption happening. And that's what most people, that's the part of the myth that's being left out. That's the part that's making this a myth, is that it's not that they produce 20% of the lungs Earth. They produce probably much more.
Yes,
But
it's
it's
recycling. It's
it's
recycling.
recycling. It's almost like a biosphere. It's a complete ecosphere that's encompassing and self-sustaining. And that's I went
Exactly.
to school in Tucson at the University of Arizona, which go back to a past episode and you guys will actually see me knock on ASU grads, by the way. But there was a biosphere very close to our university that's run by the university now that I spent a lot of time. It was basically a small city in a glass dome. And they talked about the Amazon as being completely self-sustaining. It's an ecosphere, it's recycling, there's an equilibrium, there's a balance, there's a cycle that's occurring, and it is basically a life cycle balance and a biological balance. That's what the Amazon is without that glass dome. So then what's important to know about the Amazon? So when we talk about our carbon absorption, biodiversity, cultural preservation, what are the things that the Amazon does that we should know? Besides, if we now that we've debunked that myth, what are some of the things that somebody should remember the Amazon jungle for? Is it the biodiversity? Is it the culture? Is it the carbon absorption? What is it?
It's all of this, all of all of the above that you just mentioned, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a huge biodiversity. For example, uh, if I talk about Peru, Peru is one of the 9 countries that has the Amazon within, right? And in Peru, over 60% of our territory is a rainforest. In
Okay.
Peru, we have, let's say, it's near 25,000 different species of plants, and we have over 50%, 1,000 species of plants in the Amazon. But we
Okay.
don't know all of the species. We have not studied all of those species. We know traditional uses of our local cultures, but we don't know more what's going on there with the plants and the different uses and the potential that they have. So one of the things is that these plants become part of culture, and all the threats now, if we lose these species, for example, the plants, we are losing so much knowledge and so
Mm-hmm.
much potential for humankind. Talking about food resources, talking about medicinal plants, talking about the day-to-day instruments that the local people use. And besides that, we have also the conservation aspect that is huge because there are so many species that are vanishing right now. So the Amazon, we can say that is a big treasure of all these different species, ecosystems, and also genetic resources, right?
Okay.
Because we're talking about now that we're looking at that, yes, we need to restore these ecosystems. Okay, do we have the genetic resources, the plants that they used to live there to restore it as it was before? So it's a source of all these biodiversity levels, right? So that's how I see it.
Inez, how much of this makes it to marketing?
Well, now that she's on board, she's been with us for the last year. I'm getting more and more into it, and I'm geeking out,
Oh,
picking
right
her
on.
brain and including it. But before, we've always tried to educate because that's the whole point of doing expedition luxury or elevated cruising, right?
Elevated. Ooh, I like that word.
Elevated.
By the way, don't think I didn't see your coffee mug, by the way. I saw what that was on that mug, by the way. Don't think I
Peru,
didn't see
always
that.
Peru. Um, yeah, so our goal is to educate travelers and to have them fall in love. What I say, you need to know something to love it and to protect it, and
But
that's our main goal.
and it's what you guys are both talking about. It is this balance, this ecosystem that is, it's, as you said, Gabby said, it's everything. It's not just carbon absorption. It's not just the culture. It's not just the medicinal. It's not just, it's all of it. Okay, so this is, first of all, where were both of you when I was growing up? I could have done so much
In
better
Peru.
in school if you guys were around. Seriously, I mean, you had her as a mentor, and I had Tom and Jerry. I'm just saying, one of us got the short end of the stick, and it wasn't you. Let's go through. Let's talk about this. Okay, so okay, we've debunked this theory. We've talked about this ecosystem, but there's a reality in the Amazon as human beings. And look, I know I'm going to see, I'm going to get killed in the comments for this. We always have those people out there who talk about climate change being a hoax and whatnot. To those of you who say that, you know what? Be a guest on my episode. Convince me for a half an hour that you're right, and I'll buy into it. But until that point, we need to talk about this because, Gaby, you and Inés just talked about how this entire jungle, which is often called the lungs of the earth, isn't the lungs of the earth. It's much more. It's so much more. So let's talk about the reality, because as human beings, we seem to have a habit of tearing down whatever we build up, or utilizing whatever is there, whether it's for us or not. And anybody who doesn't agree with that, take a look, go take a subway in one of the biggest towns in the world, and and see what you think, or go look at what the beaches look like when crowds of tourists get there, or whatever the case. Just take a look at the wake we create. It's not admonishing anybody, it's just who we are. So let's talk about the reality of the Amazon, because we can change this, right? It's not about even us or our generation, but the generation after. And I get that's going to be people who are going to say, well, that's long past my time. I understand. But if you were handing down an inheritance to your generation or the generation after, and that's a pot of money, would you say the same thing? Would you say, well, it's past my time, I don't care? Or would you sit there and set up trust funds and IRAs and stock portfolios to protect it? I don't see how this is different. So let's talk about the reality of the Amazon. Gaby, maybe we'll start with you and then come to you, Inez. What are
Yeah.
some of the threats? What's happening right now?
Yeah. The Amazon and other major ecosystems on Earth are under threat. You guys probably have been listening the dual and now the triple crisis, right?
Hmm.
And the dual crisis, climate change, biodiversity loss, and it's a reality. The Amazon is driven mostly by deforestation, and deforestation because of what? Because of and this is corporations impact, large corporation impacts that they are using for cattle ranching, for example, for using crops, unsustainable crops that are decimating water reservoirs, for example. So when we talk about traditional land of use, yes, there's a slash and burn. It keeps going, but somehow it's a smaller impact than these huge areas that have been deforested. So that's one of the major threats, I will say, cattle ranching, and also the lack of a political will, right? I've been in,
Let's talk about that for a second. Let's talk about
for
that for a
example,
second.
I've been part of the Global Biodiversity Standard, which is a standard that measures restoration projects all across the world. It's in all continents, and it comes from the Search Society for Ecological Restoration, Kew Gardens, and Botanic Garden Conservation International. They have sat down and put together, okay, what are we doing when we talk about there's 1 million trees planted here, another 2 million here, another. But in reality, what we're doing is planting in those millions of trees for carbon credits because everything is monetized now. And they plant this, and all of a sudden you realize that they are the wrong plants in the wrong place, right? You see the ecosystems, and you see, sadly, here in Peru, in South America, we have eucalyptus coming from Australia, planted all off in the Andes, and we have other species, right?
I
Like
was just actually in northern Peru and I saw this firsthand.
pine trees
Yeah,
that are
100%.
fuel for fires. And with all the climate change, so it's a chain of disasters.
Well, and we did a separate episode, which our producers can link back to, that actually talked about the fraud or the hoax behind carbon offsetting, because it's not always just you're writing a check, but it's not just I'm planting trees, it's what kind of trees.
And where, what
Right,
kind and where.
right.
So luckily now there are initiatives like this, like the Global Biodiversity Standard, that make sure it's an audit. So we
Mhm.
go and audit different projects that are called restoration projects, and you see in reality that most of them, they are not.
Right.
So what is the problem now? It's just education and political. I mentioned political will. For example, in Bolivia, we went down to one of these restoration projects near national park and the buffer zone, and we learn about the political scenario, and they demand growers. Luckily, a week ago, there's a new president, so we hope for the environment that it's going to be better. But before, it was you have your land and you have to set aside some number of hectares for
Mhm.
cattle ranching, some number of hectares for coca leaf, to
Yeah.
grow coca leaves.
Mhm.
So the grower, the landowner, the small landowner, they don't have a chance but to follow the rules of country. So we need that. And other places like in our country as well, we see that some bad politics are pushing or have been pushing for exploring oil in natural reserves, and
Well,
that's a problem.
when we say bad politics, I was in Peru when the last change happened. You're now on your 7th president in 6 years.
Yes.
Which basically is, this is important because I was in the room when a president of a particular Amazon directed country, right? So a country that has a portion of the Amazon jungle. I will not say which country. It was not Peru. It was not. It was not this country. But I was in the room when this statement was made, and I heard this person who was at the time the president say that they need $42 billion to save the Amazon jungle. Now, I don't know the veracity of that comment. I don't know how true or untrue that is, but they said we need $42 billion a year and our GDP does. We don't have that money. Find us that money and we can save the Amazon. First of all, what does saving the Amazon actually mean? What does that actually mean? Anybody who says that doesn't actually understand the problem. There's no saving it. You just have to stop doing what you're doing. We're not talking about, and I'm not talking about basically, okay, well, let's go live in teepees. We're not saying that, right? That's not what we're saying. Or let's go live, in a tent somewhere. That's not what we're saying. But the same companies who you're talking about, and Inés, you and I have talked about this, these same companies that are mining for oil, and actually one of our social projects, and Inés knows about the robot project that we have in the Amazon. That's about keeping kids that are being used by these large corporations, not to go find oil, but to go mine mercury. These kids are dead by the time they're 20. Imagine being 12 and you have a choice. Your choice, if you're living in the Amazon, it's, hey, go work for the narco traffickers, go work for these companies for oil, or go mine mercury. It's like bad choice, worst choice, horrible choice. Those are your life choices, right? So to anybody who comes to you and says, yeah, but how are we supposed to solve it? Or like that particular president who said we need $42 billion. What do you say to them? And I'll let either of you answer this. What do you say to somebody who says that?
Yeah. First, I will say we need to not focusing on the money part, but we need to protect what we have first.
How do we do that?
We need to keep practices like now, for example, in a very, very small how do you say, in scale, what we're trying to do with the dolphin. So what we're developing the BioRES program. What is BioRES means? It's a biocultural restoration. So we're trying to restore what was there before, right? But not only the land or the ecosystem and the forest, but also the culture that we have lost, that the local communities have lost. So we're trying to reconstruct what was there and giving and using and elevating, again, the word, Inés' word, the knowledge that the local people have. For hundreds of years, they have that knowledge, that the tech, the traditional ecological knowledge. And we're blending it with contemporary horticulture conservation techniques. And that means how to do the nurseries more effective, how to do grafting, how to do planting in an effective way, so they can produce more of those products that they need to survive as nutritional value in their day-to-day food, as medicinal plants, as species that they use to create their handcrafts, for example, that will sustain their communities. So
Something you've talked about is BioREST is about restoring abandoned agricultural lands. That's part of it as well. Because I saw that and I was really curious. Does that feed into what you're talking about right now?
yes. So what we're doing is selection of lands has been very particular, covering 3 objectives. One is like the owner of the parcel needs to be an agriculture man that loves the land and enjoys it. When we talk with the whole community in a community meeting, it was like, okay, we're gonna do selection of the lands, and we have these characteristics. Who is an agriculture? So we have raise your hand. Who is an agriculture? Raise your hand. Who spends most of your day in the land? Raise your hand. Who loves to be in the land? And there's some laughs here and there, but there's some hands that went down, and we kept the people that really enjoy and love to be in their parcels and work for that. So, and I just kept my.
Well, no, it's actually really good, because I was going to switch over to you, Inés. I was asking, first of all, I have 2 questions for you, Inés. But the first question is, what the hell took you so long to bring Gaby on board the boat?
Right?
Like, I mean, come on. I know she was too busy conquering the world and making us all look
Well, she
bad. Like,
was. She
like
paid. She
I
paid,
literally, I mean,
but we could
listening to
see her.
her, I feel like a dropout right now. I feel like I accomplished nothing in school. Even I have a bachelor's degree, and I feel like giving it back and going back to school after listening to Gaby. But yeah, what took you so long? What took you so long? But okay, but beyond that though, what Gabby's just talking about, something that I know is mentioned in BioRES projects about reviving ancestral knowledge. This is something that my organization is very, very passionate about as a B Corp, but also just in general. You've seen our work.
Congrats on that again.
Thank you.
So
Thank
proud of
you.
you. Yep.
I appreciate that. Thank you. With that though, it's people like Gaby, by the way, that inspired people like you and Gaby that inspired us to do that, right? To say it belongs there. But you, Inez, you have the most difficult task of taking everything that your sister just talked about and applying it to a sales campaign or a marketing campaign. First of all, when you talk about reviving ancestral knowledge, does that actually hit? Do people understand what that means when you say it as part of a marketing blip?
It does resonate with people, and I feel like
Okay.
that's where our travelers, where they come in. Who is a traveler that wants to go to darkest Peru, to the deepest Amazon rainforest,
Well,
to
you
these
see how she said that, by the way? Darkest Peru. Like,
very Paddington Bear.
as this is being recorded on Halloween, so I guess it's pretty accurate that you're doing that. But okay, yeah.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Now, is that a change from before? Have you seen an evolution of people you talk to?
We've always had these travelers that wanted, to come to remote destinations and to appreciate the jungle. But with all these years, we do see how they care a little bit more about, how they can have that impact, how they can also learn that through their journey and then take it back home, and how they can improve their lives back home. As a mom, for me, traveling with my boy, he's been coming on board for a few years now. And just to see him like absorb it all.
How old is he now, by the way?
Nico's 9 now.
I love your son. He's
Yes,
one of
he's
the
your
smart.
fan.
I during the pandemic,
He's
God,
crazy smart.
he's
Yeah.
crazy. That's actually the right way of putting it. Crazy smart.
Yeah.
Just I've talked to him a few times, and his absorption rate of information is on Gaby's scale.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean,
Favorite auntie for sure.
Inez,
But like the
Inez,
very first time I took him over and we were out there and playing with the local kids, and they weren't even playing with a ball. They were playing with a rod, making a hole in the dirt and getting ants out. And they would pass ants from one rod to the other and just having the loudest giggles. And
wait, time out. Time out. Hey, Cub Scouts. Hey, Boy Scouts. Hey, Girl Scouts.
yes, a Boy Scout.
Eat your heart out. This is the real thing. Hey, Bear Grylls, you got
Yeah.
nothing on this kid. Just wanted to make sure you know that. Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
Yes. So he had the best afternoon with them, of course. And then we come back and we're like nighttime decompressing in bed, staring at the jungle passing by us. And he's like, Mommy, they have so much fun and they don't have any of the toys I have back home. And they don't need any of that.
He's 9.
He was 4.5 back then. He wasn't even 5 when he made that.
I know
first connection.
45-year-olds that don't think like that.
Right?
Wow.
And so he came back home and started, gathering his piggy bank. And the next time we went, he wanted to break his piggy bank and go and bring school supplies and toothbrushes for his friends and all his friends. And that's how he remembers it. And he keeps on going back. And just to see that's just a glimpse on how these type of travel is truly life-changing. When we have, ladies in our dining area admiring how these handcrafts are
cool.
like so stunning. And Lizzie has made the most beautiful work through all of these pieces, because when we first started 20 years ago, Aldo was, in mode of let's build the first boat. But Lizzie was in the jungle breaking bread, down on her knees with a lady. She met 6 ladies in the Puerto Miguel village in '06. And she said, hey, we want to bring tourists. We were the pioneers in this area. So we want to bring travelers over here. We want them to, get to know you and get to celebrate your art, because they made the most beautiful things already. But she also wanted to collaborate with them. And it's like, hey, what if you start making animals? And they started making birds and dolphins and sloths and little caimans and all. And so they developed this line of handcrafts that what started with 6 ladies back in '06, now we have over 200
That's
expanding through the
amazing.
Amazon. And this is all made with palm oil fiber. Every color comes from a different dye. All these plants.
And dye that's been handed down by generation of how they actually use those dyes.
Exactly. And so now you have different impacts from that. The husbands were hunting legally when we first arrived to sell animals in black market. And so that was a big eye opener, right? Hey, we want to bring travelers. Let's take care of wildlife. We know you're in distress. We're going to help you out by bringing them over. She didn't want to go paternalistic handing out money, but she wanted to give them the tools. And so she built markets for different villages. I think we're up to 8 markets now. The national.
And what I love is that you stay true to that, because you've been talking about tourism as a preservation tool, as a force for good, all these things you're talking about.
Yeah.
But there's something unique to the Amazon when it comes to tourism, and it's the 0 repeat rate, right? What does that mean, first of all?
When it comes to tourism, the repeat rate is, I see people that say, I'm going back to Cabo. I always stay at this hotel. We go every spring break and we keep on going back. And that doesn't happen in the Amazon. It's very rare. I think I have 3 different people that in our 20 years have come for a second time, bringing back their family or their friends or whatnot.
2 of them work for me, so that doesn't count. Hold on a second, that doesn't count. But yeah, that. But okay, and that
Here we don't. These are first timers and probably only timers, and so the impact that we need to make in their lives with this journey, it's quite everlasting.
It's got to hit right away.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And so that happens, and we see referrals. Hey, yeah, my parents came 5 years ago, so now we want to come. Or, hey, my friends recommended you guys. And so we love when we get to hear that. But it's true. It's a 0 repeat, pretty much.
Well, and Gaby, you probably, for you, it must be amazing, because it's like getting new students in the classroom every single day.
Yes. Well, every single day.
But not every day, every week, maybe every week.
Every week, yes. So I'm working between Lima and Iquitos and the Marañón. I spend almost 3 weeks over there and 1 week here. And from the 3 weeks, I spend like about 2 weeks within the community, and then in Iquitos, also connecting, because it is amazing, but we cannot do it alone. We are working with the local communities, but I am also reaching out, for example, the National Park Service. For example, the YAP, which is the Institute of the Research in the Amazon, of the Peruvian Amazon. I'm looking into what research has been done already with plant species, because we are focusing in plants, in useful native plants, right? And then I turn to the Research Institute of the Amazon, and they have 40 years of knowledge, right? And they have produced all these materials. So I'm able to bring along that information when we are, for example, selecting the plants. Because I told you before, how was the process of selecting the landowners and the lands where we're going to work.
Right.
One other characteristic of the land was like, first, the landowner has to be working there. And the other one is like, we are using the lands that they have left. So from their parcels, we are not taking over, but we are using the deforested land, the drop of land, and we are recovering that land to become a forest. And we are doing this in 3 consecutive communities, or not consecutive, neighboring communities, no? And so we are creating a corridor, a restoration corridor crossing these 3 communities. And what I have learned and I didn't know before is that some of the community, they were neighbors, but as neighbors, they always have issues, right? Not very happy issues,
Yeah.
communication issues and
Yeah. With
everything.
each other. Yeah.
So what I'm looking learn is how this project, the BioRES project, is also connecting not only the land, not only the culture, but also the people.
Mm.
And what I bring from the research that has been done is, for example, when we were now selecting the species of plants, for example, the question is like, I'm not going to decide. Delphine is not going to decide what they are going to plant. They decide what they need and what they want. What they
Right.
need will be food, no medicinal plants, and also what they want is, for example, we were in a meeting, and I asked, okay, guys, is there any special plant that you used to have when you were a child and you don't have it anymore, or do you wanted to have it in your parcel?
Mm.
And then this guy goes like, he was about 70 something, and he raised his hand and said, can we get Lechewayo? We look, okay. I say, okay, Lechewayo.
What is
What
Lechewayo?
is Lechewayo? And he said, well, it's a fruit, a small fruit. It's very sweet. And when I put it in my mouth, I start chewing it and it turns into gum, into chewing gum, like chewing gum. And then he turns and another lady was like, yeah, I remember Lechewayo. I used to have that. And then another man. And I said, okay, we're going to put it on the list. And then they say, okay, so we have to get seeds. And they said, okay, but we don't have it anymore. It's not in the forest anymore. And I said, okay, we're going to go and look for the seeds and find and bring it back.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And we were like discussing that. And then there's another man that raised his hands and said, hi, I have a Lechewayo tree in my parcel.
Wow. Okay.
And we're like, okay. So we ended the workshop and then we go and look for it. Yes. That long story short, he was like,
later.
yes, because it was nearby. We
3
thought it was nearby.
kilometers.
But he kept saying, oh, it's here. It's just about here. It's just about. So we kept
Yeah.
walking, And then after 3 kilometers, we found the tree. And we were like excited and we were looking at it. So it's not fruiting. We look for all fruit, all seeds. There was nothing in the ground. And all of a sudden, this guy just grab one seedling and pulls it. And he says, here's, I found it. I'm going to bring back to the community and plant it. So
This is incredible.
I was like, because that's the soul of the program.
Yeah.
So we're going to go back to forest. We're going to bring that seeds. We're going to be using these horticulture techniques. We have to identify the mother trees, we call.
You're bringing everybody together.
We have to bring the seeds. We have to put it into the nursery, and we have to put it back in the plant.
Well,
So
and
that's going to be a day to day. Your
yeah,
question was, what's your
no,
day
but
to and I'm
but that's
learning.
that's
I'm
the
learning.
beautiful part of it. Yeah, and that's the beautiful part of it. So, okay, let's we're gonna wrap this up. But I'm
Yes.
gonna ask you guys one question. Somebody who wants to go to the Amazon, we've debunked the theory and told them what's important. What should they know? What's one thing that they should know before they come to the Amazon?
Before they come to the Amazon, from my perspective,
One thing that the most important thing they should know.
they should know the diversity that they're going to see is unparalleled. Most of the species that they're going to see, they are not known to science.
Okay.
And the knowledge of the people of the Amazon is something that we have to treasure for future generations, for now and for future generations.
What about Inez? What would you say? What's the one thing?
Be ready to have your life change. You feel so tiny in the grandiosity of the jungle, of the rainforest, that it really is going to make you reflect on purpose, on life purpose, on significance. Yeah.
I love it. I love it.
Valuing nature and how powerful it is and how it's all around us. We just need to open our eyes. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. I can't thank you both. This was incredible. I can't thank you both for joining us. So I can't thank you guys enough. This is incredible.
No, thank you. And kudos to you and the team, because the work you're doing here is just outstanding. Thank you for spreading the word on sustainability and for all your viewers. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Amazon.
And to all those viewers, like I said, if you like this, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. We hit that bell button so you know when a new episode drops as well. Please, please, please share your comments. I'm so happy you guys are here. And remember, Inés put it best: be prepared. Your life's gonna change. Just be prepared. Thanks again, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to The Sustainable Voice. If you have a success story of your own, please reach out and share it with us. Would love to hear from you. See you next time.